Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alright, welcome to a monthly wrap-up. So we're here again. It's time to chat about my stats and my favorites for October. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so happy you have decided to click on this video. I'll just tell you now, I read 28 books this month, and in this video, I won't be talking about every book that I read. I actually have a playlist, which will be linked right up here, that has my weekly wrap-ups, and in those weekly wrap-ups, I talk about every single book that I read. So in my monthly wrap-ups, I just talk about my stats, which everybody thinks is fun, and the top 5 books that I've read. So I basically just get a gush about all my favorite books of the month, convince you maybe to read them, and then we'll be on our merry little way today. So let's dive in without further ado. This month, my brain definitely got distracted quite a few times, I won't lie. I mean, 28, when we think about it, really has been my average lately, but it is kind of funny because I've never struggled to hit my yearly reading goal before. My yearly reading goal has always just been kind of a silly, arbitrary thing that I do. And I always make it 365 books, which I know is still a ton of books. Believe me, I know. But I have hit that for the last 5 years. I haven't even had to think about it because I usually read between 1 to 2 books a day. But now I've been reading about half a book to a book a day. And so I'm actually behind my goal by a lot. So I don't know what that means. I mean, it's kind of funny to me because, you know, things have just been a lot busier and I've had a lot more side things to work on. But I might not hit my reading goal this year, which will be good. It's a humbling experience for me for sure. It doesn't make me feel ashamed or anything because I know how much other stuff I've gotten done, but it was just a bit funny to see my Goodreads goal says that I'm behind schedule by like 15 books or something, which is funny. But let's go ahead and get into the stats here. I read 28 books, like I said, with a total of 9,130 pages, which very nice. The format that I read was I had 8 advanced reading copies, 8 ebooks. I read 10 physical books. I had 14 advanced listening copies, and I had 2 audios that weren't ARCs or anything to read. The subgenres that I read were I had 12 contemporary, 7 dark romance, 2 erotic, 4 suspense, 1 fantasy, 1 historical, and 1 paranormal. Very interesting spread there, I have to say. The ratings of these books were, I had 6 5-star reads, 2 4.5-star reads, 15 4-star reads, 4 3.5, and 1 3-star. So again, not a bad spread, but a few of those 5 stars were rereads. So I actually have one of the books that I gave 4.5 stars is actually in my top 5 because I try not to include the rereads in my top just so that I'm giving you fresh ones here. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into my favorite reads. So the first one up was Before We Came by Sloane St. James. And this is only the second book I've read by Sloane St. James. And I do believe it is the second book to make it into my top 5. So I have really been enjoying this series. And in fact, I need to read another book in that in the next couple days because it's one of my October reads that I'm behind on. I'm annotating this series for one of my patrons and I'm a little bit behind on it there. But this book is a part of the Lakes Hockey series. I think it's the series title. So I love this one. Takes place in like Minnesota, which I'm loving about it. I'm from Minnesota, as I've said many times. Lived there for 18 years of my life, which is great. And this one is about our heroine named Birdie. And in the beginning of this book, she is actually at a funeral for her mother. But it's very interesting because she doesn't feel that sad. Her mother was a very manipulative narcissist, kind of an abusive person, not physically, but definitely emotionally and manipulative of her. And so she's actually shocked that she doesn't feel more sad for the loss of her mother. And then when she gets back home and is going through her mother's things, she finds some information, one of which is a photograph, which I should clarify. This photograph was brought to the wake or whatever by one of her mom's family. And she knows she was adopted. I should put that out. She knows she was adopted, but this photo of her, which looks to be when she's about like 6 or so, of her with her mother, it isn't her. They don't have the same colored eyes, and it isn't her, but she doesn't even realize that immediately. She just saw this picture of her and her mom, and there was something that compelled her to look closer at it. And now that is starting to stir some things in her memory, so she starts doing some digging, and she discovers some journals of her mother, which uncork just the craziest bottle for sure. So then we have our hero here, whose name is Lonan, right? Not Logan, but Lonan, who is a hockey player. And he is very close with the family of his best friend. And he wasn't from, I believe, a super good family himself, and he got really close with his family. And the thing was, when he and the brother, his friend and his family were close, he had a little sister that was kind of his crush when he was young, and there was so much that could have been between the two of them. They were each other's first kiss when they were literally children, and then she was kidnapped. Maybe you can see where the story is going. This is all the setup of this book, by the way. I promise I'm not blowing the whole thing for you. But what Birdie discovered in her mother's journals is that she was kidnapped as a child. And what led her to even more of this is that she ended up doing a DNA test because, again, she thinks she's adopted. So she's not immediately thinking she's kidnapped, even when she sees this picture with another child with her mother, even when she finds these journals and there are some very cryptic things in them. But she more so just maybe wants to find out who her birth family is, because she was always told by her mother that her birth family just like abandoned her. And that's why she adopted her, and that it was this huge sacrifice that the mother had taken on by adopting her, right? But now she gets this DNA test back, and she discovers that she has family that has 100% match. And she has a brother and a father and mother out there. And again, she's still thinking this is an adoptive situation, and it's only with these notes she gets from her mom that she kind of starts to have an idea that maybe they didn't give me up. But she's been told that her whole life. So this is, there's a lot of trauma that's going to come from this for sure. So the story begins really with her finally deciding to meet her birth family. Again, not fully knowing all of these games, but before she meets them, she's at a hotel in the city. I believe it's in Minneapolis and everything. And she has a one-night stand with a guy at the bar. And this happens to be Lonan. And they have this crazy connection when they have this one-night stand, but then she has to go on her way and he goes on his. And she never got really more information from him. But when Birdie will reach out to her family and meet them, it's not long until Lonan gets told, oh my God, our lost daughter's back. And because he's so close with his family, he's brought in very soon to see her, and he learns the truth. So I found this book to be so compelling. And as I said, Sloane St. James is batting 2 for 2 for me. I can't wait to read the next one that I have over there from her. And I enjoyed this so much. I thought it was so well done. And really, I loved the mystery to it, being someone who's a true crime junkie myself. But I also do love the romance quite a bit. And that's kind of what I'm not talking about as much, because I don't want to spoil that stuff for you. A lot of everything else is just backdrop for how these two get reconnected, and how Lonan is now more determined than ever that he was always supposed to be with this woman, and he's going to prove it to her in any way he can. And I just love that. I just love it so much. Okay, next up was God of Vengeance by Michelle Hurd. And Michelle Hurd is also a frequent visitor to my favorites list. And this one is, well, it currently was the final book in the Kings of the Mafia. But now there's going to be a second generation to the Kings of the Mafia, so there's going to be more. But this was the finale to that. And this one was Damiano. And he's the capo di capi, so we've really been waiting for his story. And in this one, we have Gabby, who she is supposed to be getting married to Damiano's cousin. But Damiano has to approve it because he is the capo di capi, so he gets invited to this dinner. And he can tell very quickly that Gabby is being abused by her family and by Stefano, who she was supposed to marry. And he doesn't want her for himself, or so he thinks. But he decides that this chick is very strong, that she's able to stand against the abuses and mistreatment of these people. And he decides that one of his capos would make a good husband for her, not knowing that this capo he's thinking of has already just fallen in love with a woman. And so he's going to end up being stuck with Gabby now that he's rescued her from her family. And what is a man to do with her, right? What's he to do with her? But I love it so much. It makes me so happy. So then we have Gabby, who she is moved into his home and starts to get to know his family. And very quickly she starts to wiggle her way into his heart. And I mean, there's not as much to go in depth about this one as there was the one I just read. Like, it really is as simple as it sounds. But I just love Damiano. He's that type of hero who's like, I'm never going to be with anybody, very much closed off. And Gabby is just this sweet soul who's been so battered and beaten down that she actually is kind of a kindred spirit to him, because he's been through a lot as well, being a capo. And so, yeah, it's really beautiful love between the two of them. And there, of course, is going to be some suspense and there's going to be some drama to it. But I highly recommend really any of Michelle Hurd. I just think she's so good. So, yeah, definitely recommend that one. Okay, then I was surprised and yet not surprised that this one made it on my favorites. But like I said, I didn't have a ton of 5 stars this month that were brand new. And this one was 5 stars to me, mostly because it's my favorite in the series. And I'd given other books in the series 4 and 4.5. So this one had to be a 5, right? And that is Secret Haven by Catherine Cowles. And, you know, I like to resist and say I'm not a Catherine Cowles girly, but I think that is probably a lie at this point, because I've really enjoyed this whole series. I'd only read, I believe, one of her books before diving into this series. And then after that, ending up on her ARC team for this whole series. And I've just enjoyed them so much again and again and again. So I think I got to face the facts that I am a Catherine Cowles girly. I think that I am, for sure. I think I am. So this one, though, it's about Kai and Fallon. And another reason this one is so loved is that if you've read the whole series to get to this point, you're very much looking forward to this couple, right? The way it is in a lot of series, it's been teased, it's been led up to, you know it's coming, you can't wait for it. And here this one is, right? So with this couple, it's very interesting, though, because they have been foster siblings together, all right? Fallon, it is her family that actually has been the ones adopting people through the years. And her and Kai just started to have kind of this flirtation and relationship when they were young. And then Kai was from a very bad family and he needed a safe place to go. And so Fallon actually, her home was the safest place for him to be. But when he gets there, he begs her not to say that they were involved at all, because he's afraid that he would be forced away from her. If the safest foster home in the area, he, you know, was in love with one of the girls there. And he also does this because he doesn't think he's good enough for her anyway. And so he's like, if I have to, you know, break her heart now, at least I won't break it later. But then we skip forward many years, and Kai discovers that he has 3 sisters with his, well, not, he doesn't have them with someone. He has 3 sisters via his mother, who was, you know, not necessarily abusive to him, but she was very kind of like flippant and didn't look out for him, and she just wasn't a good mom. And these 3 girls are about to be forced into the foster system as well. And so he wants to take care of them, and the best way to do that is for him to be married. And Fallon, of course, steps up. But it's only supposed to be a fake marriage. It's not supposed to be real. Well, we all know how that will go. But I thought this was so sweet. I loved Kai and Fallon. I love that they're finally getting a chance to express their love. I love how accepting the family generally was. Like, some of them seemed to be surprised, but it was really just them being ignorant. And most of them knew that these 2 were supposed to be together. And I love the girls, and I love watching them start to realize how blessed and loved that they are. And then there definitely is a suspense element to it, so be prepared for that. But overall, I just thought this was so good, and it felt so good to wrap up this story. All right, then I hesitated to put this one on the favorites, but again, it was 5-star and I love it. The reason why I say I'm hesitating is that I don't know, like, it's not currently available to just go buy this story. You need to sign up for, I think, Sierra Simone's newsletter and her extras if you want it. And I understand not everyone will want to do that. But if you're a fan of the Camelot series and the Lioness series, you're going to want to read this. So it's my end of the month favorite, so I'm going to do what I want, right? And this is called The Sleepover by Sierra Simone, and it is about 140-page erotic escapades that involve the triad from the new Camelot series and the triad from the Lioness series having a sleepover, and everyone is topping and subbing and doming each other, and there is basically a sexual fantasy for one of each of the characters in this series, and it culminates in one of the hottest bangs that I've ever read, like, seriously. But there are so many pairings and everything, so this is kind of set in a like alternate universe where the new Camelot crew is able to take a break from reality and come and stay with the Lioness trilogy. And then you have Ash and Mark just kind of orchestrating this whole fuck fest that happens. So yes, this is an erotic novella that is sex the whole time, okay? It's Sierra Simone though, okay? That's all that I can say. How an erotic novella can make me tear up and get misty-eyed, I don't know. But it did, okay? It did. And that's why I love Sierra Simone. And again, this is my list. There's not much else to say about this. You've either read those books and you want to read this one, or you haven't. So, I'm sorry. I don't even know if I can put a link to where it is. I think you got to sign up for her newsletter to get it. But I loved it, actually. I loved it a lot. And then to round this out, I have a very Bellamy Christmas. It feels so good to have a Minerva Spencer back at the top of this list. But this book it's not a midway point because there's only supposed to be 2 books after, but it's kind of, this was supposed to be a novella, which, as you can tell, it is not. It is 350 pages. It was a full-length book. But it kind of, like, recaps a lot of what happened in the first 4 books, and it is supposed to set up the next books that come. And so, because books 1 through 4 happen in basically 1 year's time, you had Phoebe, Hyacinth, Selena, and Aurelia all finding love. And so they all come to the Duchess of Chatham's house, which is Phoebe's house, to have a Christmas time. And we get a recap on their stories. We get a few chapters from them. And then we also have the love story of Andrew Derrick, the Marquis of Shelton, and we have Stacia Martin. Now, Andrew is kind of a wayward character from a few of the previous books. He'd gotten on the bad side of a few of the characters we love, But that's okay. He's going to have his redemption arc in here, and it's going to be quite good. And then Stacia Martin, she is actually a companion to the mother-in-law, to the mother of these ladies, the Bellamy sisters. And that woman is absolutely insufferable, but luckily, and I would never wish one of these on anyone ever, but this is a fictional woman. She comes down with a horrible migraine and just literally can't be around people for a few days. Which again, never would I wish a horrible migraine on anyone, but in the fictional sense, we'll roll with it. Which gives Stacia some time to actually enjoy the house party herself. And she actually has some romantic thoughts about Andrew, but he's never really noticed her before. And when he does start to notice her, she wonders if he's only interested because she seems like an easy catch or what. She's very hesitant to return any of that, even though, again, she's been interested in him for years. But we'll just have to see how it plays out. Along with some meddling interference of our good friend Catherine. And again, it's setting up for the next 2 books in the series, which Catherine is out now. But I did listen to the audiobook for this one, and I really just love the audiobook narrator for these, which I believe this one is, oh my gosh, I didn't write down the narrator. I'm so horrible. I literally write down the narrator for everyone, and I didn't for this one, so oversight on my part. But Catherine just finally came out, and there's no audio, so I can't say that I'll get to it soon. This one took me over a year to get to. But once an audio is available, I will do my best to get to that one. But I'm glad that I read this one. I ended up reading actually a few holiday books this month. I'm not normally a holiday book reader, but I think I read 3 or 4, which was fun. And yeah, this one just was surprisingly heartwarming because, again, Andrew was a bit of a ne'er-do-well and a troublemaker in previous books. He caused a lot of problems, especially for Sylvester, who is Hyacinth's husband. And he did some pretty shady things. But once you get the full picture of what happened with him, you start to understand him better. And specifically, I could cry about it, you guys. I really could. Because the way that he makes up with Sylvester, and they finally talk about a few things in their gentlemanly way. And there's specifically this one thing that I won't tell you about. But there's this one thing that Sylvester does to show that he's forgiven him that I was an absolute puddle. I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck when he did this thing for Andrew to show him that, like, hey, you've been through hell. I've been through hell. It's good. Just be my brother again. And they were actually cousins, but like they'd always called each other brothers. And then these past few years, because of circumstances and things that, I mean, Andrew had done and that Sylvester had done, not 100% innocent. They had just been ripped apart, and that it was a travesty. So to have them back together again was really beautiful. So there you go. Those are my stats and my top 5 reads of October. Looking forward to November. There's so many great things on my list. There's also so many great books from October that I didn't end up getting to. But I have a much smaller, in reference to myself, TBR for November. So it's definitely looking more doable. And so hopefully that means I'll be able to catch up on a few things. We will see for sure. But anywho, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you so much. If you enjoy what I do here, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and like this video. YouTube has been being an absolute beast lately of just strangling my content. So please, 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 if you have the moment to hype this video, like it, whatever, I really, truly appreciate it. And if you'd like to support what I do here, you can check out down below links to my Patreon, as well as I have a Ko-fi if you'd like to send me a tip that way, or maybe you want to buy me a book off of my wish list. That's always a fun treat as well. So thank you so much for watching, friends, and I'll see you next time.